ladies, how's everyone doing today? So we are making use of the top and bottom back just to make sure we have enough space. So we have plenty of space. And just go ahead and start in a comfortable position, just seated. Before we even start, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this class. So this is our first class of the beginner series. So each week in July, we're going to kind of focus more on coming back to the basics. And for this particular class, we're focusing on the back. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And the back, a couple different things, mostly back strengthening. So strengthening the back, but also back, when you focus on the back in yoga, it can also include some like back bending. So we'll do a little bit of that as well, which is considered heart opening as well. So opening the heart, opening the chest. But just a few things about the back in particular. So working on the back in yoga can help really strengthen the spinal area and reduce pain. And, you know, having that strength can help with posture. It can help prevent injuries, realign the spine. One thing about the back is a strong core. Core is connected to everything. It really helps with a strong back. And a lot of people, you may have some, you know, previous like injury or lower back pain or something due to maybe something you don't know about. You know, I don't know exactly where everyone's coming from, but I'll try to talk a little bit about that during class to try to find like some modifications if you do have a little bit of back pain or need a modification, because everybody's a little bit different, and yoga is going to be different for different people depending on, you know, where you are in your life and your practice and your experience. All right, so with that being said, we're going to start in a child's pose. And you know what? You may actually want to, reverse your mat it maybe a little bit so you can see me, just so it's facing towards me. But for a child's pose, we're going to take our knees apart the width of the mat. And I'll talk about, like, there's different ways we can do a child's pose, and you can kind of find what one works for you. And if your mat's flying up, so like the wind's kind of coming from this side, so if you put that, and even if you want to grab another one and put it in the front, there you go. That's going to really help, yes. So we're going to sit back towards our heels if possible. Reach the arms forward and bring the forehead down. All right, so this is one way to do it. Another way, mostly similar, is to bring the knees together, all right, and come into a child's pose here. But taking the knees apart allows a little bit more space, but just kind of knowing there's different ways you can do a child's pose. A child's pose is really good stretch for your back, especially your lower back. Sometimes in yoga, child's pose is considered a resting pose, but it can also be just a really good stretch. So it can be a good stretch for your back. Maybe you feel it a little bit on the inner legs, even the arms and shoulders as you start to hold it a little bit longer. If for some reason any pose doesn't feel good for your body or good for you, try to find another option that feels good throughout the class. So from here, we're just going to take a few moments to just kind of come into our yoga breath. So in yoga, we try to take long, deep inhales and exhales. So maybe just start out here, kind of just tuning into your breath and just starting to lengthen your breath as you're here in the pose. Taking long, deep inhales through your nose, long, deep exhales out through your nose. Making your exhales and your inhales about the same length. And kind of using this time just before we really kind of start adding on some movement to really kind of just ground yourself. let go of anything that's on your mind. And really just start to focus for the next hour or so on really just being present. Taking a moment to really just feel what it's like to be outdoors. So in the marina right now, feeling the wind, the sounds, of maybe the waves, maybe the boats, or just anything else around us, and just kind of embracing all of it as part of our practice today, part of our experience. Take a moment to just set an intention before we start. So usually in yoga, you just kind of remind yourself of a goal that you have, maybe just even something you're grateful for before we start our practice. So kind of really bringing in not only the body connection, but the mind connection. From here, you can slowly just lift up your head, and we're going to walk our hands over to the right side for a child's pose twist. And then you can bring your forehead back down for a few breaths. And just kind of notice as you move over towards one side how that kind of changes the stretch, and you start to feel it a little bit more on your side muscles and your obliques. And then you can slowly make your way back through to the center and over to the other side. Maybe just noticing if one side feels a little bit tighter or a little bit different than the other side. And then you can slowly walk your hands back through to the center, lifting your head up. And we're just going to walk our hands back, and we're going to make our way up to our hands and knees. So just coming to a tabletop to start with. So just kind of make sure you spread out the fingers. So you want to ground through the hands and protect the wrists. Make sure your hips are on top of the knees and your shoulders are on top of your wrists. And we're going to do cat-cow pose. So just kind of some spinal rotation. So on your inhale, your belly's going to come down, your tailbone's going to lift up, and your chest is going to lift up. And this is called cow pose. I'm not sure why. And then on your exhale, you're going to start to slowly come through to the center, round your lower back, round your upper back, round your shoulders, bringing your chin in towards your chest. So in this pose, I like to picture like a black Halloween cat kind of rounding its spine. And then kind of flow a little bit with your breath. Inhale, come through to the center, articulating your spine. Drop the belly, lift the tailbone up, look up. And then exhale, nice and slow, rounding the spine. So this kind of just warms up our back. Should feel good for your back. So if it feels okay, really just kind of exaggerating the movements, just moving with your own breath between these two poses. Inhaling to come up and then exhale to round. And this is also good for our lower back as well. We'll do this one more time. All right. So from here, just a neutral tabletop, so a flat back. We're going to take our right foot back. Going to come to a bird dog pose. So start out by flexing the foot, keeping that foot out long. And then take your left arm. So it's opposite leg, opposite arm, forward. Very good. All right. So from here, you're going to start to lift that back foot up. And it doesn't need to be lifted up very much. You're just starting to, you want a straight line. Good. So draw the shoulders apart. So you want strong shoulders, but this is also really getting into the core muscles. So think lift up through the core. Your gaze is kind of towards the front of your mat or even your fingertips. And you want to think of someone like pulling your fingertips in one direction as you're pushing your foot in the other direction. Energy moving both ways. Good job. One more deep breath. And then exhale, release. Very good. All right. And then we're just going to set up for the other side. So take your time to set up. Bring that left foot back. Think to spread the fingertips apart. Flex that foot. Keep the toes on the mat to start with. Draw the shoulders apart. Lift up through the core. And then slowly start to lift that back leg up, pressing back through the heel. And just think, energy's reaching forward. Good. Through that finger, pressing back through the heel. Eyes kind of can help. Our gaze helps us with our balance as well and our focus. So gaze either at your fingers or towards the front of the mat. Deep breath. One more deep breath. Good. And then go ahead, release. We're just going to sit back on our heels just briefly and just kind of roll out our wrists. All right. So the plank work can be a little hard on the wrist. You have a lot of pressure on the wrist, and that's one reason we spread out the hands. So just rolling them out a few times. All right, good. So from here, we're going to come into a downward facing dog. So down dog, you're going to spread out the fingers. And always an option if down dog doesn't feel good, just to come back to the hands and knees. And I'll show you some options. But for down dog, you're just going to start in your hands and knees and lift the hips up and back. So for your down dog, you want to spread out the fingers again, and you want to have a little bend in those knees. Actually, let's bend the knees a lot. Send your chest towards your upper thigh, so we're just going to stretch it out a little bit here. So it's definitely fine to have a good bend in the knees in the down dog. And then come up onto the toes. We're still just stretching it out. Good. And then press the heels towards the mat. Maybe unless you know you're already really flexible, like your hamstrings are flexible, you'll probably want to step your feet in just a little in your down dog. Yeah. And if down dog doesn't feel good, you're going to stay on your hands and knees, just stretching one leg out long and then the other. So maybe doing a few more rounds of cat-cow. So in your down dog, this is a really good stretch. So it's a good stretch for your back. So kind of feel where you feel in the back. You'll also feel it in the shoulders, the upper back, and then as you press the heels down, so you might want to press one heel down, bend the other knee, you'll feel that stretch more in your calf. Good. And this is called walking the dog, so just heel-toeing the feet a few times. All right, and then from here, we're just going to walk our feet up to our hands for a ragdoll forward fold. So this is just kind of feet are a little bit distance apart, but not too wide. We're going to keep it loose, so keep like a ragdoll, so keep a bend in your knees. Maybe grab your elbows and just kind of sway a little bit, just slow side to side. Relax that head and neck, so just let it hang there. So maybe shake your head yes and no, just really making sure it's relaxed. Lifting up through the hips to get deeper. So you want to think hips come up and your stomach comes down towards the upper thighs. Send your body weight just a little bit forward so you're not sitting back in your heels. And it should feel like a nice stretch for your hamstrings, the back of your legs. Maybe also a little bit of a release for your back. From here, we're going to come to a flat back. So you're going to take your hands to your shins. Just come up about halfway. Yeah. And so this is an active pose. So you're straightening the arms and your energy is reaching forward. Head and neck are reaching forward. Good. And then exhale. We're going to fold forward a little bit deeper. So you can still have a little bend in the knees, but maybe just a small bend. And then on our next inhale, we're going to reach our arms. You can either reach forward or reach out to the side, but either way, you're just lengthening your arms to come all the way up through to an extended mountain pose. Very good. Reach it up nice and tall. So from here, we're going to do a little bit of a back bend. So you're going to keep your hips in line with your ankles. You're going to look up towards the sky. Even just looking up is a little bit of a back bend. If it feels okay, start to even look back behind you. Maybe let your head drop back, hips come forward a little bit. And then slowly make your way up. So you want to come up nice and slow so you don't have a head rush from kind of coming back. Good. And then you can take your hands to your heart center. All right. From here, we're just going to move through a standing flow. So just getting a little bit more movement, some energy. So inhale, reach up. Moving with your breath. Very good. Exhale, fold forward, hinge from your hips. Inhale to come to a half lift. Draw the shoulder blades back. Good. Exhale, fold forward a little bit deeper. Next, inhale, lengthen through your arms. Come all the way up. Either extended mountain pose, reaching everything up nice and high, or maybe a little back bend, seeing if you can go a little bit further. So even just this is a back bend. Opening up the heart, opening up to the sky. And then slowly bringing your hands back down to your heart center. Good. All right, so from here, we're going to go through a slow sun salutation, and we'll just kind of pause on our stomach and talk about a few back-specific poses. So coming towards the front of your mat, we'll inhale to reach our arms up. Exhale, you're going to fold forward. So inhale, half lift, just like we did before. Good. Exhale. Fold again. This time, bend your knees. Plant your hands down just right beside your feet, and you're going to step one foot back long and then the other, coming to a plank. Good. So for your plank, draw the shoulders apart, a little bit lift through the hips, and we're going to lower down all the way to our stomach. So nice and slow, elbows hug the ribs. If you need to, you can drop to the knees. Good. So just coming to your stomach. So from here, we're going to come into a cobra pose. So for cobra pose, your hands are going to be kind of right where the sports bra line is. And you're going to lift up your head, neck, and chest. Now, this is actually a small lift. So you want the strength to come through your upper body, not your hands. So it's not really something like this. Your hands should almost be able to hover. Yeah. So a lot of people, when they do it, they'll come like this, and that's not really the right way to do it. You want the strength to come here. And then you can lower back down. And then we'll press back to a tabletop. Tuck the toes. Maybe step the feet in a little bit. Come back into a downward facing dog. If you don't want to do the down dog, coming maybe to your hands and knees or even a child's pose. But we'll be in a down dog about 3 to 5 breaths. Coming back to your breath, kind of just resetting here. And then same as before, we're going to walk our feet up to our hands, coming to a forward fold. And then half lift. So on an inhale, come up halfway. And then exhale, fold forward deeper. Next inhale, make your way all the way up. Reaching, finding length through the arms, energies up through the arms, either just reaching straight up or reaching back a little bit. Good, and then slowly bring your hands to your heart center. So that was a sun salutation. We're going to do one more, just adding an up dog variation. So you can just watch me, and then if you want to try it, once we come to that point, you can try it. But we'll all just start from the front of our mat. Inhale, reach up. Exhale to fold forward. Inhale, half lift. So moving with your breath, this is slow. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, make your way to a plank. So take your time, just kind of pause in that plank. Make sure you feel strong, you feel stable. Option as you lower down is to come down to the knees or just lower down all the way, reverse push-ups. All right, so you can pause here. If you want to come, let's come to a Sphinx pose and just pause here. So Sphinx pose is just on your forearms, and this is actually a nice lower back stretch, so just elbows under your shoulders. We usually don't do it in a flow because it's something you kind of hold a little bit longer, but usually in a flow when you're lowering down, you kind of have the option to do an up dog or cobra pose. So we did that cobra pose, but if you're doing the up dog, you're going to lower down halfway, so you have to have a lot of arm strength, and then straighten the toes, straighten the arms. And the only thing on the mat is your hands and the tops of your feet, and that's kind of the up dog. What a lot of people do is they'll kind of do something like this. And this is okay. This is a variation of the Sphinx pose. This is a seal pose. But it's not really what we do in a flow or a sun salutation. So generally, you'd want to work on the little bit of the back strength with a cobra pose, or like this is a deeper back bend with a up dog. All right, so it's usually always optional depending on what feels better for each person. All right, so from here, let's make our way onto our hands and knees, back into a downward facing dog. Take a few more breaths here. And then we're gonna walk or step the feet up to the hands again. Same thing that we did before. Same movements coming to a half lift. Inhale, exhale, fold. Next inhale, make your way all the way up. Good. Maybe reach back if you want to. Work on going back a little bit further. When you're ready, coming back up. All right, good. All right. From here, we're going to try a balancing pose. We're going to try a dancer pose. So balancing is harder when you have like the whole horizon, you have the water, everything in front of you, just so you know it might not just be you. It might be where we are. So let's start. Ground through your right foot. You can take your hands to your hips, and we're just going to start with a quad stretch. So you're just going to bring the left foot up, grabbing the big toe side of that foot. So let's just start here without even trying to do anything else. Even just this. This is a good pose. So this is stretching out your quad. Everything's in line. Yeah, you need to hold on to that thing on the side. Yeah, maybe opposite arm reaches up as kind of a counterbalance. Right? All right, so from here you can either stay here, so still pressing the foot into the quad. If you want to go further, you're going to soften that standing leg, start to come forward a little bit, and this is where we open up the quad. Maybe becomes a little bit of a back bend as we reach up. Another option, if we're struggling just the balance, we can do kind of a pose like this where it's kind of like a tree pose balance. It's just another option if you're having trouble with just this pose right now. I'm just taking a pose here or even here. Just working on the balance, all right? If you want to work more on the stretch, you're going to come forward, press the foot into the hand, and that's going to stretch out your quad, maybe a little bit your back. Open your heart. I know, it's super hard, right? We're just trying. They have the bar up top, so that might be the place to be, right? So, yeah. All right, let's try the other side. Maybe it was outside. All right. So ground through the other foot. Take a moment. Try to focus on something maybe just in front of you that's kind of on the ground. That will maybe help stabilize yourself. Grab the big toe side. Maybe just start here. Other options just to work on balance is just keeping a little kickstand. So you're not putting too much weight on one foot. Bringing that. Using the arms is kind of like a counterbalance as well once you kind of have it. Either focus on just staying here, or you can soften that standing knee a little bit and just slowly hinge forward. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be just like an inch. And then once you have it there, maybe hinging forward like an inch more. Good. Coming back to your breath. All right. One more breath, and then slowly make your way up. Let's release. Roll up the ankle. Just kind of shake it out here. All right, good. All right, so from here, we're going to do a forward fold twist. All right, so take your feet about hips distance apart, and we're just going to hinge from our hips, coming to a forward fold. So twisting is good for our back. It can be good for our spine. So from here, you're going to bend that right knee as you straighten. Keep the left leg straight, and keep that right hand fingertips on the ground right in front of your feet. Take the left hand to the left shoulder. So right knee's bent, right fingertips are down, left hand is to the left shoulder. So we're going to slowly start to bring that shoulder up towards the sky. So twisting through the upper body. Yes. And then once it's kind of reaching up towards the sky, maybe reach that arm up, and that is your twist. So normally here, you know, I have these blocks, but the blocks are really just weights for our mats. Normally we'd have our hand kind of up on a block, so I know it's hard. Just trying our best. Deep breaths. And then you can bring that top hand down, and we're just going to switch sides. So from here, you can bend the left knee, straighten the right leg, left fingertips are on the ground in front of you, right hand to right shoulder. Slowly start to just think twist, twist, twist through the chest, through the upper body, opening the shoulder, and then maybe reaching the arm up towards the sky. Again, sending your body weight just a little bit forward. Deep breath. Good, and then you can slowly lower back down. So coming to a forward fold. From here, we'll come to a half lift. Draw the shoulders back. Exhale, fold forward again. And then next inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Lengthen through your spine. If you want to, either stay straight here or reach back. Working on a little bit of a back bend. And then when you're ready, slowly bring your hands back down. So from here, we're going to go through one more. This will be our last vinyasa, last sun salutation. So stepping towards the front of your mat. We'll inhale to reach our arms up, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, hinge forward from your hips, coming to a forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, bend your knees, plant your hands, making your way back to a plank, just kind of pausing here. So option to stay up on the toes on the plank, or you can drop down to the knees and choose whether you want to do a cobra or try that up dog pose as you lower down. So cobra, you're coming all the way to your stomach. Up dog, you're going to come halfway. Curl over the top of your toes. Hands are straight. Tops of the feet are on the mat. Yeah, good. And just let them relax down and look up. Yes. Shoulders away from the ears in both poses. And then exhale, make your way into a downward facing dog. So if you're from up dog, it's just natural you kind of roll over the top. If you're kind of in that cobra, you kind of come down, hands and knees first, and then down dog. Maybe just noticing how this down dog feels compared to the first one that you did at class. And then from here, we're just going to come onto our hands and knees. Take a child's pose. If you have some water with you, you can grab a drink of water here. Kind of just pause here, taking a few breaths. All right, so we're going to make our way onto our forearms. So you're going to kind of make a triangle with your forearms. So interlace the hands. We're setting up for a forearm plank. Draw the shoulders in your forearm plank. Draw the shoulders away from your ears. Step one foot back longer than the other. Keep your feet a little bit wide for this plank. So this is working that core. So hips slightly lifted up, but not too much. All right, and we're going to do some hip dips, which should feel good for your back. So you're going to bring your hips up and over to the right. Maybe both heels drop down to the right. Bring the hips up and over through to the center. Maybe both heels dip over to the other side. So we're going to do maybe, let's say, 10 or so on each side. Or you can just hold the plank. Right? Maybe even on your knees, you're just holding it from here. Right? The taking some option. Keep breathing, a few more. Let's do one more on each side. Good. And then you can bring both knees together. Sit back. And we're going to take a child's pose variation, this time with our hands behind our back. The purpose is it helps relax our shoulders. So you can even do it just from here. If you prefer to sit up here, just taking the hands behind your back, or you can come down with the hands behind your back. And it's kind of like a counter stretch just for the shoulders, because we are working the shoulders a lot in the planks. All right. All right, we're going to do one more set of plank. So option here, we're going to hold it. We're going to try to hold it for about 30 seconds. So option is to do the forearm plank, holding it for 30 seconds. Maybe you drop to your knees if you need to, or up onto your hands, okay, if your wrists feel okay. So whatever one you want to do, I'll let you know when we start. We'll go for 3, 2, 1. Make your way into your variation. Keep breathing. Your gaze is kind of just in front of your mat. One thing you can do, I like to do this just to keep my mind off it a little bit, is to roll forward a little bit on your toes. Press back towards the heels. Good, you're about halfway through. Go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Just sitting back, taking that child's pose variation to relax the shoulders, or you can just interlace the hands behind your back, drawing the shoulders down and back from a seated position if you prefer. But just a little counter stretch. All right, so from here we're going to make our way to a seat. And we're going to set up for a wide-legged forward fold. So we're going to take our feet out wide. All right. So the wide-legged stretch stretches out. So first of all, when we take our feet out wide, naturally, they'll want to kind of just roll in. So we want to take our hands to our thighs and just make sure they kind of are straight or roll them out. We'll flex our feet here, just sitting up straight. And we're going to start to come forward, but keep a straight back. So maybe just hinging forward, just a little, sliding your hands down by your shins or your calf. Chest is lifted, straight back. And then you just kind of start to notice where you feel the stretch. So maybe you start to feel it in your inner thighs. As we hold it longer, this can even, you can feel it a little bit in your knees, like strengthening your knees, a little bit in your back. And then start to see if you can come forward a little bit more, just hinging from the hips, keeping that flat back. And sometimes it's better. So it might feel like you can go lower if you round the back and round the shoulders and come down. And maybe it feels like you can stretch out further, but you might be stretching out more just by working on the movement starting from the hip area without straining the lower back too much. Sometimes, like in yin yoga, we hold the pose a longer period of time, so we will really kind of like just relax and round. But we're not holding it super long, so we'll try to stay more active, flexing the feet, straightening the back, and just hinging forward a little bit from the hips. A few more deep breaths. And then from here, you can walk your hands back. All right, we're just going to take the legs out, take the feet out about the width of your mat, and we're just going to drop both knees to one side, drop both knees to the other, and this kind of just helps release like tension in your lower back, just brings a little movement back. And then we're going to come to a reverse tabletop pose. So feet about hips distance apart, heels in towards you a little bit, hands behind you, and then lift the hips up. Head can, if it feels okay, you can allow your head to drop back. If not, you can just keep the head there looking up towards the sky. And this is a good counter stretch for a forward fold, so it should feel good for your back. And then you can slowly make your way back down. All right. From here, we're going to come to a twist. So a spinal twist is good for our spine. So you can take your right leg out long, cross your left foot on top. I'm doing the opposite of you guys. I have to think about it. So take your knee in towards your chest. Just sit up nice and straight. All right. So you're going to take whatever knee's on top. So take that hand behind your back. And then the opposite arm comes forward. So it's going to be opposite arm and opposite knee. So inhale, reach up, lengthen, and then exhale, we're going to twist, bringing the elbow above the knee if possible, or you can just kind of hook that elbow, looking over your left shoulder. Good. So in the twist, you want to, and everyone's doing perfectly, you want to sit up straight, so you don't want to kind of like lean back. You want to lengthen through your spine, have a straight spine. And you want to think of lifting that upper body, so almost like that stomach up and over your upper thigh, just kind of twisting through that upper body. And think of even getting a neck stretch. So as you're looking over that shoulder, you're kind of stretching out that neck behind you as well. Taking a few deep breaths. And the twisting is supposed to be good for our spine health. They say in yoga, twisting is good for your digestion as well, because you're kind of, I guess, compressing the stomach or twisting the stomach. And then you can come through to the center, and we're just going to take an open twist just for 1 or 2 breaths, kind of like a counter stretch. So just twisting in the other direction, yes. And then just come back through to the center. We'll switch sides. So other leg is out long, bringing that opposite foot up. So kind of to set up, I didn't really talk about it before, but that foot, you want that whole pad of the foot on the mat and a little bit above the knee if possible. But, you know, everyone's a little different, so just kind of working with your body. So sit up nice and tall. Whatever knee's on top, bring that hand behind your back. Reach up with the other arm. Inhale, find length. And then exhale, you're going to twist. So bringing the elbow to the outside of the knee, or just kind of hooking the knee with the elbow, looking over your shoulder. On your inhales, you want to think sit up nice and straight, nice and tall. On your exhales, using your breath to help you twist a little bit more, even if it's just like a little bit of a centimeter more of a twist. And then slowly make your way back through to the center and just kind of open up in the other direction. So just a twisting counter twist, counter stretch in the other direction. All right, very good. So we'll come back through to the center. So the next stretch we're going to do is going to be for our hips. And just one thing to kind of know about your hips is sometimes if you have really tight hips, it can cause back pain. Just because everything's kind of connected, and it just might cause like overuse of the back. So there's 2 different stretches we can do. One is pigeon pose, or the other one's figure 4. So if you want, we can try pigeon pose, or if you already know you prefer the figure 4 stretch, you can come into the figure 4. Pigeon pose is a little bit more like the deeper stretch. So if you get in that pose and you're like, oh, this feels really uncomfortable, you might want to try the figure 4 stretch. So to set up for your pigeon pose, if you already like want to set up in a down dog, you can, but I'm just going to start out on my hands and knees, and then you're going to bring the right knee behind the right wrist. Take that foot, bring it over to the side, kind of as far as it'll go. It's naturally going to slide back, but just kind of bringing it over, and then take your back knee back. All right, good. And this is our pigeon pose. So from here, typically we'd come lower down to a resting pigeon. And this pose, we kind of hold a little bit longer to just allow the hip time to release and to really stretch out. But like I said, everyone's different, and for some people, this pose is pain. Everyone looks like they're doing okay, but if you don't really like this pose, kind of there's an alternate, which is like the figure 4 stretch, which is still doing kind of the similar shape, but it's a little bit less intense, and you can even do it on your back. So I like to just kind of give that option. All right, so you want to, in your stretch, you really want to just allow your body to relax, just to release into the pose, since we're going to hold it a little bit longer. Maybe just come back to your breath, so taking those long, deep inhales and exhales. So you can stay up on your forearms, or if it feels okay, you might want to reach the arms in front of you, bring your forehead all the way down, if that feels a little bit more relaxing. Or you can, yeah, that's fine, exactly where you're at too. It might feel good to kind of sit up like this. But allow your body, so they say your face is connected, your face muscles are connected to your hips in the way of sometimes when you're stretching at the hips, you kind of scrunch up your face. So just kind of notice if your face is kind of scrunched up in the pose, and maybe just kind of consciously relax the muscles in the face. About 2 more deep breaths here. And then you can slowly make your way up. Good. So kind of slowly taking your time to make your way out of the pose. So we can come onto our hands and knees and just stretch it out. So just reach that leg back, maybe because we held it longer, it feels a little bit stiff. Do a few hip circles in each direction. And then we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. So starting out on your hands and knees, bringing the left knee behind the left wrist, walking that foot over, and then sending the back knee back. And just kind of settling in on this side. Maybe noticing how this side feels compared to the other side. Sometimes they are quite a bit different. Either just staying on your forearms, or you can reach the arms out long, bringing your head down. But try to allow yourself to just kind of release in the pose. Just let go. Soften the muscles in your face. And then from here, taking your time to make your way out. So just kind of maybe pause at the top, walk your hands back, pause here for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, making your way out, just stretching the leg in the back, maybe doing a few hip circles in each direction. And then we're going to make our way onto our stomachs. All right, so we're going to start out with our hands in front of us. Our forehead's going to be on our hands, but you can kind of lift it up. So I'll just kind of show you what we're going to do. So we're going to do some back strengthening exercises. So starting with the upper back. So if you want to just watch, we're just going to lift and lower. So the reason my hands on my head is to kind of keep my spine and everything in line. But it's just your upper back. So your hips are going to stay down, even your ribs stay down. And you're not lifting up super high. It's just low, or it's just small raises, upper back raises. We're going to do about 10 of these. Inhaling on your way up, exhaling on your way down. And then after your last one, you can just relax your head down. We're going to do the same thing with our lower body. So you're going to just reach both legs up at the same time and then lower. And again, the purpose is not to come up super high. So you want to keep your hips down. But as you lift up, you'll start to feel it a little bit in your lower back. Working towards strengthening those muscles, even just lifting them up a tiny little bit. One or two more. All right, good. So from here, we're going to take our hands behind our back. So interlace your hands. We're going to come to a locust pose. So you can start with your forehead down and either keep your head down, but if it feels okay, you're going to lift your chest, lift your forehead, and lift your feet together. So you're kind of lifting everything here, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, and we're going to hold it here for a few breaths. And again, you can stay low if that doesn't feel good for your back, but if it does, work towards bending the back a little bit, lifting up through the chest, through the feet. Deep breaths. Good, and then you can go ahead and release. Let's just lie on our stomach for 3 or 4 breaths. And then we're going to come up into Sphinx pose one more time. So Sphinx pose on your forearms. So for this pose, you just want to check your elbows are in line with your shoulders. Yeah, good. And that your shoulders kind of are away from the ears. So this pose is a nice pose for our lower back. But kind of notice you can you can look down, and as you look down, that kind of lessens the stretch on your lower back. And then as you start to look forward or even up a little bit, that kind of deepens the stretch on your lower back. So you can kind of control even just a little bit the depth of your stretch here. All right, and let's take about 2 or 3 more breaths here. All right, and then from here, we're going to finish on our back. So if you would like to grab a drink of water first, you can kind of come up and grab a drink of water or just roll onto your back. All right. Take your time, but once you're on your back, you can just hug those knees in towards your chest and just do a few circles. So basically, you're just massaging your lower back onto the mat, doing a few circles in each direction. So this is good for our back and it's good for our spine. And then from here, we're going to set up for a bridge, just an easy bridge pose. So you're going to place your feet on the mat about hips distance apart, heels up towards you, press your palms into the mat, and we're just lifting up into a bridge. Keeping those hips lifted up. Chin is up away from the chest. Option to kind of make like an L shape with each hand and place your thumb underneath your lower back for more of a supported bridge. So sometimes we would use like say a block underneath our sacrum to kind of support ourselves, but you can kind of use your hands, support yourself there. Just as an option. And then slowly make your way back down. Take your feet out wide and drop both knees to one side. Drop both knees to the other side a few times. Just windshield wiper in the knees. From here, we're going to take our right knee in towards our chest. Left leg's going to be out long, and we're just setting up for a twist. So draw that right knee up nice and high, and we're going to bring that right knee up and over to the left side. Maybe right arm out to the side. Left shoulders, or right shoulder is kind of working its way down towards the mat. Your gaze can be up towards the sky, or maybe in the opposite direction of that knee. See you later. And then slowly come back through to the center, and we're going to switch sides. Right leg out long, left knee in towards your chest. Pull that knee up nice and high. And then we're going to bring that knee up and over to the left side. So again, the twisting, a lot of times in yoga, we'll finish kind of in a twist because it helps realign the spine after a lot of the different stretching and a lot of the different movements that we've done throughout class. And then slowly make your way back through to the center. We're just going to stretch it out long, so straightening out your legs, reach your arms up overhead, just taking a nice long stretch. Yes. And then we'll make our way to just a brief Shavasana. So just finding a comfortable position to lie on your back for the last minute or two of class. So typically in yoga, we always finish in Shavasana, relaxation pose. So just let your feet open up naturally out to the side. Palms open up to the side. Yeah, and there's some options for Shavasana too. So sometimes that might not feel good for your back even to lie flat on the back. So if you try bending your knees, taking the feet out wide, and just let the knees relax in towards each other, that might actually be a more comfortable Shavasana. And might feel nice for your back, but just finding a comfortable position for the last few moments of class and just allowing yourself to just be. So not having to do anything in particular, not having to think about anything, just allowing yourself to just be here for the last few moments. And then from here, take a nice deep inhale in through your nose. Complete exhale out through your mouth. One more time, nice deep inhale. Complete exhale. Go ahead and wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. So just starting out with some small movements with your wrists, with your ankles, rolling out your wrists, rolling out your ankles. And then reach your arms up overhead, bend the knees, just slowly starting to wake your body back up. Then maybe roll onto your side, just pausing there for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, slowly taking your time to make your way up to a seat. All right, so from here, let's just finish by bringing our hands to our heart center. We'll take one more deep breath. So reach your arms out and up one last time, pressing your palms together, bringing your hands back down. And just take a moment to feel a sense of gratitude. Thank yourself for coming out, maybe stepping outside of your comfort zone, trying something new or different, or just coming back to do something healthy for your body, for your mind. And just allow the positive energy that you feel from class to be a benefit to yourself and the people around you throughout the evening and throughout the day tomorrow. Namaste. Namaste. All right, thank you guys.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Hard and challenging.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.